Hello and welcome to this episode of the Mixtape podcast. This is where we take a deep dive into the inspirations and influences of my guest as I ask them to select 6 tracks for their imaginary mixtape. Track 1 is an attention grabber. Track 2 is a song they sing in the car or the shower. Track 3 is a cover version. For track 4, I'll ask them to pick a song they wish they could have played to their 18-year-old selves. Track 5 is a song they would use to woo someone. Track 6 is a track that my guest feels doesn't get the attention or recognition that it deserves. If you'd like to support the creation of this podcast, it's patreon.com/mixtape podcast, or you can check out the link in the description below. You can join for free or subscribe for as little as $2 a month. There's lots of other Patreon-only content on there, including the opportunity to ask guests a question and to have a personalised mixtape playlist curated by yours truly. There's lots of other ways you can support me, a like or a follow on social media. Again, there's links in the description for that. Or if you are listening on Spotify, you can smash the follow icon or you can rate the podcast. All of these little things go a long way towards growing the platform, and I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to this mixtape for KCR 102.5 FM and the mixtapepodcast.com. Joining me today, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome Ryan from Rejoining. Paul, how are you, mate?
I'm doing great, mate. Glad to be here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for making the time. You're coming to Australia supporting A&M Farm in February 2025. I'll just run through the dates real quick. 7th of February, Brisbane. 8th, Sydney. 9th, Melbourne. 11th, Adelaide. And as most people do, saving the very best till last, the 12th of February, playing Magnet House in Perth. It's thephoenix.au for tickets for those. Have you been to Australia many times, Ryan?
No, just twice before. I was over there one time during festival season, and then was just over last year fronting the band Soil with Static X. So I've experienced Australia summer, and which makes me want to snap my own neck, and I've experienced Australia winter, which I love. That's what was funny about this coming up here was that when the Alien Ant Farm Camp and Phoenix and AJ got a hold of us to ask us if we'd be interested in taking CKY's place as a co-headline situation, we already had Australia as one of the top things that we wanted, was one of the top locations that we wanted to go to in 2025. Because since getting back together, the demand for the band has been great, but we've been very much handcuffed to the States because of all the festivals and everything that we've been doing and we've been offered and been able to be a part of. So we told everybody we really wanted to concentrate on overseas for 2025, and Australia was one of those top locations that we wanted to get back to. But I hate the sun. So I wanted to come back to Australia during Australia's winter. But when this came about, like I said, they came and asked us about doing this, and you never want to turn something like this down, because otherwise, next thing you know, it's like December 2025 and you didn't get over. The fact that they came to the table asking us to step in and do this, we were already behind we were behind a little bit as far as getting everything ready business wise, but it's going to be worth it once we get everything taken care of to get to come back and have Drowning Pool back in Australia with people there that allow us to do what we do. It's going to be awesome.
I hate to break it to you, mate, but February is the hottest month of the year.
Yeah. At some point in time, I must have punched a nun in the front butt in some former life or kicked a baby or something, because I moved to England about 7 years ago because I love the weather here. It's gray, it's overcast, I can wear sweatshirts almost all year round. The sun hates me. I don't like the sun. I'm so glad they're coming back to Australia. But to be coming back in the summer, man, it makes me think I've done something wrong at some point in time.
I did the absolute opposite to you. I moved from England to Australia because of the miserable sun.
I bet my wife's got sisters that did the same thing. They live over in the Sydney area, in or around Sydney. Moved over there from England here.
You mentioned it briefly just while you were talking there about the band back together. So obviously you stepped away, you were away from Drowning Pool for a few years with obviously playing with Soil again. How does it feel now to be back with Drowning Pool? And or is it just like slipping on an old pair of jeans? Does it feel as comfortable as it always did?
It does. It happened so fast. It went from me and Stevie started messaging me one night, and if you're not familiar with the different locales in America, Stevie is the one guy from the band that was born and raised in Texas. The other two guys are CJ and Mike are both originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, transplanted to Dallas, Texas. But Stevie is the one, like we used to always joke around, you got two Cajuns, a hillbilly, and a redneck, because I'm from Indiana. So you had two Cajuns, a hillbilly, and a redneck, let the good times begin. And but Stevie being a Texan, and he doesn't talk a lot. He's a man of a few words. You tend to learn to listen when he does speak. So one night, I'm at a pub here in England, and Stevie starts messaging me. And usually, through the years that we've been apart musically, band-wise, we've always stayed in touch because we're both big American football fans. So we'd hit each other up whenever there was some big news as far as that goes. But all of a sudden this night, he's hitting me up, and all of a sudden this conversation was like an hour and a half later. I'm like, this is not typical Stevie. I was like, man, are you sure you're okay? He's like, yeah, everything's fine. And about 30 seconds later, actually, we were wondering if you'd be interested in doing some reunion shows. And I was like, I almost sprained my thumb. I was like, yes, absolutely, yes. I miss playing with the guys. I miss writing with the guys. And when we originally parted ways, it was only supposed to be a couple months. We were supposed to like take it was supposed to be just a breather, recharge the batteries. And all of a sudden, 12, 13 years later, we're getting back together. But then all of a sudden, 2 days later, their manager at the time calls me and is like, yeah, it's not going to be reunion shows. You're back in the band, and we got a show with Pantera coming up, and we got some other shows coming up, all starting in about 2 weeks. So we need to get aired, and we need the flights booked and all this stuff. So it was just like, go. So it was, and ever since then, it's been that way. It's been a whirlwind.
Fantastic, fantastic. And new single, Revolution, came out recently. Can we expect anything from you in terms of new material going forward? Is there any plans to record anything new?
Absolutely. Revolution came out really because it was the first song that we were able to get done. You were asking about the slipping into an old comfortable pair of jeans. So that's exactly the way it was. The first time we got back together, I got off the plane in Dallas, Texas, jumped, I think CJ actually picked me up. We went to a rehearsal spot. And that was the first time in years that we'd been in the same room together, let alone the same room together to jam. And it was like we hadn't been apart. And we actually all had so much fun with it. We not only did we jam the songs that we were going to play the set coming up, we just started like naming off songs and just started jamming these tunes that we hadn't played. Some of them we had never played together, and just having a blast with it. The only difference was that in between songs, everybody had to put their reading glasses on to read their cell phone messages and stuff. So that was the only difference that took place. And there was a little bit more white hair in the room than there used to be. But other than that, it was just like you said, it was like putting on a pair of comfortable jeans. But because of that, yeah, the writing has been going nuts since we got back together. It's lit in such a spark to each individual's creativity. And we've got so much material ready to go that the problem has been that struggling with the demand that the band has been under as far as appearances and shows. We just haven't been able to find the time to record like we want to. We actually had our producer fly out and spend about 4 or 5 days on the road with us the last US tour that we did, just so we could get some pre-production done. So I fly back over the States. This is the longest time I've had at home all year. I've got 2 weeks at home I'm in the midst of right now, because I needed to recharge a little bit. But I fly back to Dallas. I fly back to Texas to do a handful of Xmas and Texas shows, for doing like some Toys for Tots type shows and stuff for the holidays. And then I'm staying in the States to do some recording to get some of these songs that we've been working on, get them actually laid down. And then I got a feeling that I'll be back over again in January to do the same thing, because we've just got so much material. That I like Revolution, but I'm even more on fire about some of the songs that we haven't been able to get down yet. So very much looking forward to not just getting them down, but getting them out to the people that allow us to be us.
And in terms of songwriting, Ryan, how does it work within the band? Do you just jam stuff and stuff comes out of that, or does CJ come with an idea, or is it more of a collective? How does it work?
I would say probably about throughout, and this is going back to our original time together. I would say that probably about 85 to 90%, that much, is CJ and sometimes Stevie coming up with the framework of a song, the original riffs, the original musical idea of a song, and arranging that amongst them, as an individual, and then presenting that to the band, and then we blow it to hell, and we all put our own we all put our own ingredients into the soup bowl. But one thing that was very different about Revolution is, in my career, regardless of what band you're referring to, I've always been like 99.9% responsible for the lyrics. This was that song, Revolution, was the first time that we sat down as a band, and not only as the band has always had, everybody in the band has always had something to do with structure, with changing this part and changing that part and putting their own little flavors on it with what they do in the band. But this song was the first time we sat down and we started spitballing ideas lyrically. And that was very unique. I wasn't really sure. I was apprehensive about it at first because I want to be able to feel what I'm saying. But it did work because we had a very common understanding of what we wanted to portray, what we wanted the song to be about. And so then it was just a matter of us, we were all spitballing our own take on that view, on that subject matter. And then taking the different lines that everybody threw out there on the table and pulling this line, pulling that line, and pulling this thought and that thought, and making them work together. That was the first time. Revolution marked the first time that I'd ever been a part of something like that. So it was very interesting, very unique in a way, fun. I don't know. I would imagine we'll see more of that because we did have a good time with it, and I think everybody enjoyed having a voice in the lyric aspect of the song.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone's excited for the new material to be coming out next year. Let's just get into the mixtape track choices now, Ryan. My show's called The Mixtape. So what I like to do with guests when they come on is I'll say to you, hey, Ryan, you're going to make up an imaginary mixtape or compilation or playlist as it's more known now. And I'm going to give you six songs to pick, and like they'll all have a category. So you've got to pick a song for each category.
Dude, I'm on this because my house is an old school house, dude. About 4 years ago, my wife wanted a cassette recording device, like an old school one. It sounds horrible. Like it sounds like there's like a dump truck driving by constantly when you use this thing. But me and my stepson, 9 years old at the time, we're sitting there making mixtapes, actual cassette mixtapes.
Love that.
So,
awesome.
You're talking to a man that lives in a very old school house here.
Great. Okay. So track one, Ryan, is even when I kick off the radio show or I make up a compilation or a mixtape for anyone, it's always going with an attention grabber, something that's going to grab attention and make me want to listen to the rest of your tape. So what would be your track one attention grabber, mate?
I'm going to warn right away with this that I am an old school guy. I love and I appreciate a lot of the bands out there today. But when it comes to listening to music, listen to your Godsmack and your Five Finger and stuff like that here and there. And I've had my passion for Korn has been reinvigorated because it's my stepson's favorite band in the world. My appreciation for those guys has regrown again. But still, I'm an old school guy. So my first song would have to be For Those About to Rock.
Oh, planted Australian audience there, mate. Love that. That's what we like to see.
Oh, I did. Hey, yeah. Yes. That was intended. Yes. I'm smart enough to think about that.
That was my ringtone on my phone for about 10 years when I first moved to Australia. Yeah.
Back in the day, Soil, we attempted to do a cover of that song because that was shortly after my dad passed. My first concert ever was AC/DC. And my second concert ever was AC/DC. We were talking like back in the blow up your video days.
Yeah.
And so after my dad passed, it was a sentimental thing that but it was about to rock with a tune that we kicked around for a little bit because it meant so much, because AC/DC will always be that first band.
Quite often,
First band.
living in Perth, I quite often drive on the Canning Highway, which is the highway to hell in the song.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, so I always make sure whenever it's just like in my head now, and anytime I hit that road, I just make sure that goes on the Spotify every time. Yeah, so it was like it joins a well-known hotel in South Perth, Raffles Hotel, to Fremantle, where Bon Scott used to live. It joins those two places, and they used to go on pub crawls down that road, and they wrote a song about it called Highway to Hell. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, that's where that comes from.
Another funny story on that is my wife actually lived in Australia for a short period of time. I think she got her apprenticeship tattoo-wise over there. But she is notorious for getting lyrics to songs absolutely horrifically wrong.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, her entire adulthood, because we've only been married now for 7 years, it was within our marriage that she realized that he was saying highway to hell. She thought for all these years he was saying halfway to hell. And I was like, honey, it's in the friggin' title of the song.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And what do you mean I'm halfway to hell? What that is so, come on. It's all or nothing.
Some sort of hard rock purgatory or something, probably. Yeah.
Halfway to hell. What the hell's that?
All right. Track 2, Ryan, is pick a song that you sing when you're on your own in the car or the shower, mate.
It's random crap, man. I am for, there isn't like one single tune. I wish I could give you one. I am horrible with just some tune, some like background music to a commercial or something, some earworm will get stuck in my head. And that I'll carry that around till I realize it's there. And then I got to go back to, there's one song that will get any earworm out, and that's the theme to the Muppet Show. If you start thinking about the theme to the Muppet Show, that will clear your head of any earworm that you have. But so yeah, actually, if you want to go there,
it's your mixtape. I'll play whatever you pick, mate, on the show there. That's all good. No problem at all. And track 3, Ryan, is pick a cover version.
Man, dude, that's tough.
So
Stone Sour did a cover of that Chris Isaac song back in the day, With Your Game. That Maurice killed that song, just amazing. Drowning Pool's Rebel Yell isn't that bad. There's also this band called Soil that did this song Black Betty.
Maybe I'll drop them in at the end of the chat, mate.
But no, Corey killed that song, man. Did a good way to kill. I mean, he made those lyrics were like, they ripped your heart apart. He did a great job on that. There's so many greats. But yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with What You Get.
Great choice, mate. Great choice. And for track 4, this one is usually the one where people have to think the most. What is a song that you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self? Like, what's something you wish you would have heard when you were that age?
I had such a unique and wonderful experience as a young music lover, because my dad was into Bob Dylan and Pink Floyd and the Grateful Dead and AC/DC, Aerosmith. And then my brother, who was 5 years older than me, was into the whole hair metal thing in the 80s. But he's the one that introduced me to Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. And then as I got older myself, of course, you're talking about Alice in Chains and Metallica and stuff. So there was so much great music going on in my house that I can't think of anything in the past that I'd be like, man, I wish I would have known that, because I knew it. I was probably going on in my house somewhere.
This is the category where most people pick their own song so that they can show their 18-year-old selves, like, this is what you're going to go on to sort of achieve. Do you know what I mean? That's one of those where people pick their own songs.
I can see that, yeah. I can understand that. I guess for me, though, I'm thinking, man, I wish when I was a more influential young man, I wish Corrosion of Conformity and Clutch was around, because they would have been right up my alley back when I was 18 years old. Those bands would have been stuck in my listening device back when I was a kid.
Yeah. Maybe I'll pick one from those guys. No worries at all. I'll just pick one at random. No problem. And track 5, Ryan, if you were making up your mixtape for like a romantic interest, or you were trying to woo your wife before she was your wife, like what would be a song that you would put on there to let someone know that you're romantically interested in them?
Would it be with Guns N' Roses? I used to love her, but I had to kill her. Would that work?
Did that work, mate? Someone picked Submission by the Sex Pistols once as well for that category.
Nice.
So
nice.
yes, yeah, you go with whatever works for you, mate. Yeah,
That'll work. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, great choice. And finally, just to round out your mixtape, Ryan, what's a track that you feel is like underappreciated, like it doesn't get the sort of recognition that you feel it deserves?
I'm going to show my age again, but it's not even my age because this was before my time. But man, the musicianship of the bands that I grew up listening to, because it was the stuff my dad was listening to and stuff. I wish musicians today, I wish the young musicians today, and some of them are, but I wish the young musicians today were as aware of the musicianship that was involved in the bands of yesterday, like Creedence Clearwater, and like I said, Zeppelin and stuff back in the days before there was Pro Tools and before there was all that crap, all your vocal pitch shifting crap. Back when a band would walk into a studio, set up live in a room and jam a tune, and that's the tune that made the record.
Yeah,
those musicians, I wish they would sit back and listen to Unfortunate Son or Down on the Bayou and stuff by Creedence and just concentrate on the bass line involved in some of that stuff. Oh, the Who's, The Real Me. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
right. Great choice. Great choice. All right, Ryan, we're just about out of time, mate. So I will end it there. Thanks so much for coming on the show, mate. Safe travels down under, and I hope you have a fantastic tour, mate. Cheers, buddy.
Dude, I apologize for not being real.
Don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you very much.
Man. It's all good. Take it easy. See you later, mate.
You too. Later. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mixtape podcast. All the links that you will need are in the description below. Link to my Patreon, my guest website and social media, my social media, and the link to the Mixtape tracks playlist as chosen by today's guest. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.